Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to Sahitya Academy. So, today I'm going to continue the same topic, Edmund Spenser. So, in the last class, I have begun and it is its continuing part. Please do watch the last video so that you can get the whole picture of Edmund Spenser. ಸೊ ಬೈ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು ಎಡ್ಮಂಡ್ ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋಕೆ ಸಿಡ್ನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸಾರಿ ಫಾರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ಸೊ ಎಡ್ಮಂಡ್ ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಬಾರ್ನ್ ಇನ್ 1552 ಟು he lived up to 1599. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತು ಎಡ್ಮಂಡ್ ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಬಂದು ಫೇರಿ ಕ್ವೀನ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗೋಣ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಎಪಿಥೆಲಿಯಮೆನ್, ಪ್ರೊಥೆಲಿಯಮೆನ್, ಎಮೊರೆಟಿ ಇರಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ಮಿಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ನಾನು ಇವತ್ತು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅಂಡ್ ಮೋರ್ ಓವರ್ criticism on Edmund Spenser too. Yes, my dear friends, please do subscribe to Sahitya Academy, and if you are watching my video, please do like and share. Adhe riti, so yesterday only I told you that, so I would like to give live classes. If you want, please do comment in the comment box so that I can prepare for live classes. Let me know, please. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ AP ಅಸಿಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, PU ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, HSTR, GPT, NET, KSET ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ಸ್ಗೂ ಆಗೋ ರೀತಿ ನಾನು ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಯಾವುದೇ ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ಕಿಪ್ ಮಾಡದೆ ಇನ್ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ವಾಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ನಾನು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಬಿಗಿನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಬಿಗಿನ್. Yes, please do watch the picture of Edmund Spenser. I have explained his mannerism too. Next important work is The Fairy Queen. The Fairy Queen has published in two parts. First was published in 1590 and the second part published in 1596. The first three books were published in 1590, the second in 1596. Spenser's friend and patron, Sir Walter Raleigh, played a crucial role in publishing The Fairy Queen. In 1589, Spenser travelled to London from Ireland. Remember, he was working in Ireland as a colonial official, isn't it? So he returned England from Ireland with Sir Walter Raleigh. Actually, Walter Raleigh influenced Edmund Spenser to write this work and presented the poem to Queen Elizabeth I because he wanted to gain the pension, isn't it? The Queen was so pleased that she granted Spenser a £50 yearly pension. So finally, he succeeded to get his pension. Then Spenser wrote a letter to Walter Raleigh explaining the allegory of the poem. During course of writing, he wrote a letter to Walter Raleigh that he has applied allegory and other thematical information he wrote in his letter to Walter Raleigh. And of course, in book 4, see book 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6. So like that, in book 4, Spenser includes a poetic tribute to Raleigh because he helped him a lot, portraying him as a warrior and courtier. Please do mark down these important points. Edmund Spenser included this letter that he has written this letter to Walter Raleigh, right? So he included that letter as an introductory part to Fairy Queen and he named it as a letter of the authors. Okay, and it is called as also the letter to Sir Walter Raleigh. Okay, both are correct. As a preface to The Fairy Queen in its first publication 1590. So first 1590 ನಲ್ಲಿ publish ಆದಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ he included that part. Okay, means he has explained about Fairy Queen themes ಇರ್ಬೋದು, its style ಇರ್ಬೋದು, allegory ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ರಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಓದುಗರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ he included that part as introductory or preface. So Originally planned as 24 books. He wanted to return this as an epic. Of course, epic anta helidre 12 parts irutte, but he made it into 24 parts because it has divided into two virtues. Okay, so 12 books, originally planned as 24 books. Sorry, I have to remove this. Wait. Oh, okay. Anyways, I will do it later. 24 books actually, each based on a knight exemplifying private virtues, and 12 books based on King Arthur display. It is right. Now I remember. Sorry. One second. I will explain once again this. See, he has divided it into 12 books and 12 books. Two parts are there. I told you in the beginning only. Okay. 12 books, each based on knight exemplifying private virtues. Okay. This is one part. And another part is also has 12 books and based on King Arthur displaying public virtues. So, one is private virtues. Another one is public virtues. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ 24 ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ 12 and 12 ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವನು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ. ಬಟ್ he was only succeeded to finish 6 books. Okay, and fragmentary piece of seventh book. Each book follows the quest of a knight. Okay, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬ ನೈಟ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ and he is displaying his virtue. Okay, who represents a specific virtue that is explained in the next slide. An epic and allegorical poem written in Spenserian stanza. Okay, the Fairy Queen is an epic. Of course, you know that. And this is written in allegorical form. Okay, so we have discussed it already that he has explained everything in the letter to Walter Raleigh. This is written in Spenserian stanza, a 9-line stanza with an AB, AB, BC, BCC. Okay, rhyming scheme ಇರಬಹುದು ಅಥವಾ ಥೀಮ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಡೂ ಮೇಕ್ ಅ ನೋಟ್. Of course, I am going to send all these PDF notes in Telegram group. Please do subscribe to Telegram if you not yet subscribed to. Okay, so link ಅನ್ನ ನಾನು description box ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿರ್ತೀನಿ. He called it a dark conceit. This is one more important point. Spenser called the Fairy Queen as dark conceit. Queen Elizabeth is symbolized as Gloriana. In Fairy Queen, Spenser symbolized Elizabeth as Gloriana. Okay, the Fairy Queen. Gloriana is nobody but the Fairy Queen. Ruling over an idealized kingdom, he refers to the Fairy Queen as a work meant to honor Queen Elizabeth I. So because of that only, he was granted with 50 pounds of pension per year. The poem is both a moral allegory and a chivalric romance. Why chivalric romance? He is talking about knights. Okay, that is why. And also it is talking about politics and good and evil angels like characters ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ moral allegory ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. Combining elements of classical epics, Arthurian legends, because he is talking about King Arthur, who is displaying public virtues, and Renaissance humanist ideals. So these are all discussed in the book The Fairy Queen. Books. Okay, 6 completed books and 7th one is fragmentary. Fragmented means not completed. So first book is The Legend of the Red Cross Knight. Okay, we can see Red Cross Knight in the first book. So he represents holiness. Please do remember all this. Who represents what? Okay, second book is about Sir Gayan, who represents temperance. Third book is Britomart, who represents chastity. Then book 4, Campbell and Triomond. Okay, Triomond. So who represents friendship? See, there are 2 persons and they represent friendship. Then fifth book is Artegall. It is about Artegall and he represents justice. Next, Calidore represents courtesy. So seventh book is unfinished, and this is Mutability Canto, represents constancy. Okay, so like Red Cross Knight, RH, Red Cross Knight, holiness. Sir Guyan, temperance. Okay, Britomart, chastity. Campbell and Triamond, friendship. Article, justice. Calidor, courtesy. Okay, CC. RH, GT, BC, CNTF, AJ, CC. Okay, like this, like whatever comes to your mind, like that only you try to remember with quotes, with the funny stories, like that. Okay, here Arthur, King Arthur stands for magnificence. Okay, na. Next, Bandhu, the fairy queen celebrates Elizabethan values here. Fairy queen represents Elizabeth, isn't it? So she is Gloriana. Reinforcing, Protestant ideals, because England was opposing Catholicism, and Henry the Eighth jote jotegene Catholicism kuda hogutte. So Elizabeth Queen represents Protestantism ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, a Protestant religion ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, it is reinforcing ideals of Protestantism. Chivalry and national pride, because recently in the sense, in 1588, so Queen Elizabeth succeeded in Spanish Armada. Spain represents Catholicism, so ella features kuda. That is why you have to know history. So if you know history properly, definitely you can relate all these things. Okay, national pride, that is about national pride. Next, Spencer's proclaimed aim in the prefatory letter to Walter Raleigh. So, means prefatory means preface, introductory letter to Walter Raleigh is to fashion a gentleman or noble person in virtuous and gentle discipline. Means, why did he write this poetry? Because he wanted to fashion, a gentleman. Okay, fashion a gentleman or noble person in virtuous and gentle discipline. Okay, this is also important point. Next, background of the fairy queen. England had undergone a Protestant reformation at the time, breaking from the Catholic Church under Henry VIII. Queen Elizabeth I, she ruled from 1558 to 1603, strengthened Protestantism. The fairy queen aligns with Protestant values, portraying Catholicism as the deceptive and corrupt, okay, faithless. So, for example, Duesra represents the false church. Duesra character is there, cruel character. She represents the false church. Spencer saw himself as an English Virgil. Okay, that is why he was trying to write this poetry in the form of epic. He wanted to write it in 24 books. So illi Virgil bandu like classical period ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ವರ್ಜಿಲ್ ಯಾರಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ತನ್ನನ್ನ ತಾನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸರ್, ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ವರ್ಜಿಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. Hoping Queen Elizabeth would patronize his poetry like Augustus did, for Virgil. So Virgil ಅನ್ನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಅಗಸ್ಟಸ್ ಸೀಸರ್ ತನ್ನ ಪೋಯೆಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನೇಮಕ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಕ್ವೀನ್ ಎಲಿಜಬೆತ್ ಕೂಡ ನನ್ನನ್ನ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಪೊಯಿಟ್ರಿ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಆಸೆಯಿಂದ he is emphasizing Queen Elizabeth I and her ruling, her administration, her virtues, like that he is emphasizing in the fairy queen. Talking about the legend of the Red Cross Knight. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ನಾನು ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಗೋ ಥ್ರೂ ಈಚ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್. Okay, so the legend of the Red Cross Knight, who represents holiness. Okay, so the Red Cross Knight represents the virtue of holiness and the struggles of a Christian soul. Here Christian soul represents purity. He is sent by Gloriana. Gloriana, who is Gloriana here? Gloriana is the fairy queen. Fairy queen is none other than Elizabeth I, to rescue the Princess Yuna's parents from a dragon. Along the way, he is deceived by Duessa, who is represents false church, means Catholicism, symbolizing the false Catholic church, and nearly destroyed by Archimago, a deceptive sorcerer. Once again, he belongs to Catholicism. He ultimately defeats the dragon. See, here he was assigned to defeat the dragon and save Yuna's parents, right? So ultimately, he defeated the dragon and marries Yuna and becomes the patron saint of England, Saint George. So in the second book is talking about the legend of Sir Gayan, who represents temperance. Sir Gayan, the knight of temperance, must overcome temptations like Christ. Okay, so temptations led by serpent or Satan. ಅಲ್ವಾ ಸೊ ಆ ರೀತಿಯ ಟೆಂಪ್ಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಮೀರಿ ಕ್ರೈಸ್ಟ್ ದೇವರಾಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಕೂಡ ಸರ್ ಗಯನ್ ಓವರ್ಕಮ್ ಟೆಂಪ್ಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ destroy the bower of bliss, a palace of sinful pleasures ruled by Acrasia. See, there are many characters in this poetry, in this epic. He embodies self-control and moral discipline. Okay, because he is overcoming the temptations. Alva? So self-control irlebeku and moral discipline. Defeating the dangers of lust and excess. Alva? So ಇದೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಟೆಂಪ್ಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ನ ಗುಣಗಳಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮೀರಿ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ we have to control all these. That is what the message here. The legend of Sir Gayan represents temperance. Next, book 3 talks about the legend of Britomart, who represents chastity, means pavitrate. Britomart, a female knight. See, Britomart is a female knight, represents chastity and is also a symbol of Queen Elizabeth I. Once again, she is also symbolizing Queen Elizabeth I, apart from Gloriana. Gloriana directly represents Elizabeth I. She seeks Artegall, the knight she has seen in a vision and whom she is destined to marry. Means she is searching for Artegall, the knight. Along the way, on her journey in search of Artegall, on her way, she rescues Amoret. She rescues Amoret, a lady held captive by an evil sorcerer, showcasing pure love over lust. Who is showcasing pure love here? The legend of Britomart. Yes. So next is about book 4. The legend of Campbell and Triamont, who represent friendship. Explore the bonds of friendship, focusing on knights Campbell and Triamont, who become allies after battling each other. So first ಅವರಿಬ್ರು ಗುದ್ದಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ, so next friends ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. Britomart continues her quest. See, they accompanied Britomart here, emphasizing the role of loyalty and true companionship. Next, the book, book 5th ಅಲ್ಲಿ the legend of Artegall. See, she was in search of Artegall, right? See, ಈ ರೀತಿ ನೀವು ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು. Artegall ಅನ್ನ ಅವಳು ಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ಲು. Who represents justice. Sir Artegall, the knight of justice, seeks to restore order because he is representing justice. That is why he wants order, of course, and fairness, justice, nyaya, alva. But faces corruption and deceit like what is it? Queen Elizabeth's court or religious corruption. His quest mirrors England's colonial rule over Ireland, reflecting Spencer's views on English governance. He is ultimately rescued by Britomart. See, ultimately rescued by Britomart. Not Artegall is, rescuing Britomart by. He is rescued by Britomart, reinforcing that justice must be tempered by virtue. Because Britomart represents chastity. Next, book 6, The Legend of Sir Calidore. So finally he represents courtesy. Sir Calidore, the knight of courtesy, pursues the blatant beast, a symbol of slander and malicious gossip. His story emphasizes courtly behavior, civility, and the dangers of societal corruption. So this is all about the Fairy Queen, and Fairy Queen is written in the form of allegorical poem. This is one, and this is of course an epic. Written in the style of Virgil, also planned as 24 books, but he was only able to complete 6 books, and the seventh part is unfinished, not completed. So that is what is that represents uh, what is it? Yes, I would show here. Books about books. Yes, sorry, constancy. Okay, mutability canto represents constancy. Okay, this is all about the Fairy Queen. Please do make notes on each and every point and try to explore more on Fairy Queen because this is very important work. So next is complaints. So Edmund Spenser wrote Complaints in 1591, and this is a collection of 9 poems. So this is also subtitled as containing sundry small poems of the world's vanity. Okay, this is a subtitle. So first poem is The Ruins of Time, a reflective poem lamenting the decay of great cities and the fleeting nature of worldly glory. So all these wars ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾನ್ಷನ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಕಲೋನಿಯಲಿಸಮ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಸೊ ಫೈನಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ದಿನ ಅದೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಫೇಡ್ ಆಗಲೇಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಮೆಸೇಜ್. It mourns the fall of the ancient city of Verulam. So is comparing England or any other great empires, like what to say, fleeting nature of worldly glory ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಅವನು ತನ್ನ ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ಐ ಮೀನ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ಕ್ವೀನ್ ಎಲಿಜಬೆತ್ಸ್ ಎಂಪೈರ್. So next poem is The Tears of the Muses. This is personifies the 9 muses. Okay, Greek muses, Greek gods and goddesses, who each complain about the decline of poetry. So he is always talking about decline of poetry, and there is no support for great poets and writings like that. He is talking because he was in depression. That is why. And the arts due to political and social neglect. So English society is neglecting his poetry. That is what he is telling here. Criticizes the moral and cultural decay of the Elizabethan court. He is not talking about Queen Elizabeth but her court. Next poem is Virgil's Gnat, a fable adapted from the Culex, traditionally attributed to Virgil. Maybe Virgil written this poem ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು belief that sacrifices itself to save a shepherd, illustrating themes of self-sacrifice and ingratitude. So next, Prosopopaya or Mother Hubbard's Tale. Okay, so among these poetry, this is one. This one is quite important. A beast fable featuring a fox and an ape who exploit others to gain power. Okay, critics corruption in Elizabethan politics. So ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲಿಜಬೆಥನ್ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ there are many ministers and other personas and who are exploiting, who are conspiring, who are like that. Okay, so next poem is The Ruins of Rome by Bailey. So this is also a translation of Joachim du Bellay. Okay, this is the name of poet Joachim du Bellay's Les Antiquities de Rome. So this is the original poem, and Spencer translated it as The Ruins of Rome, which meditates on the decline of Rome, draws parallels between Rome's fall and the fragility of all great civilizations. Of course, this is also regarding fleeting nature of worldly glory. Next one is Mew-Potmos, or the fate of the butterfly, a mythological allegory about a butterfly named Clarion. So butterfly na ಹೆಸರೇನಾಗಿದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ Clarion, who is deceived and killed by a spider. Represents the dangers of pride, vanity, and fate. So don't worry about these 9 complaints, because they are not that important, but you should know as general knowledge. You should know about these complaints, 9 poems. Okay, that is why I have given a little information. So next one is Visions of the World's Vanity. Visions of the World's Vanity. A series of visions depicting the fleeting nature of earthly glory once again, emphasizing the theme of memento mori. What does it mean? Reminder of death, memento mori. The Visions of Bellay, once again, another translation or adaptation of poems by Du Bellay. So this is the Joachim du Bellay. So last one is The Visions of Petrarch, adaptations from Petrarch's Triumph, focusing on the inevitability of time's destruction of all things. Okay, so these are about complaints. These are written around 1591. Okay, collection of 9 poems. So next is Daphnida. Daphnida, written in 1592. This is an elegy written by Edmund Spenser to mourn the untimely death of Douglas Howard, or Lady Howard. Okay, the daughter of Henry Howard, the Earl of Northampton, and the wife of Arthur Georges, a poet and courtier. Lady Howard passed away young, and Spenser wrote this elegy at the request of her grieving husband Arthur. Here, Daphne, the title is derived from Daphne, a figure from Greek mythology who was transformed into a laurel tree, symbolizing loss, grief, and unfulfilled love. So theme is the transient nature of life, inconsolable grief, and the pain of losing a loved one. So this is like the Book of Duchess. Book of the Duchess by Geoffrey Chaucer. Okay, this is an imitation of Chaucer's The Book of Duchess. So there also Black King is mourning for the on the death of his wife. So next, Amorati and Epithalamion. So these two are published together in 1595. So collection, Amorati is a collection of sonnets, and Epithalamion is a wedding poem or an ode. It records Spenser's courtship and eventual. Okay, so Amorati records courtship and eventual marriage. Epithalamion represents or records eventual marriage to Elizabeth Boyle. Do you remember who is the first wife of Spenser? Please go back to the video and remember that name. Maccabeus. Okay, that was his first wife, who was died in the Irish rebellion. Maccabeus child. Second wife is Elizabeth Boyle, an Anglo-Irish noblewoman. Okay, let's talk about Amorati. Amorati is a sonnet sequence like Astrophel and Stella. This is a cycle of 89 sonnets. Yesterday I told you 99. That was wrong. Still I told you I was in confusion. So this is about 89 sonnets sequence documenting Spenser's courtship of Elizabeth Boyle. Written in Spenserian sonnet form. It consists 14 lines, of course. 3 quatrains followed by a final couplet. Rhyme scheme is AB AB, BC BC, CD CD and EE. So a little difference between Shakespearean sonnet and Spenserian sonnet. Okay, 3 quatrains. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So last it carries couplet. Couplet means 2 lines. Okay. So rhyme scheme is AB AB, BC BC, CD CD. See. So second line goes to fourth. Fourth line carries in the next paragraph. Okay. So second paragraph in the again second line is carried. Second line rhyming scheme is carried to third paragraph like that. I mean third stanza. Okay. So this is a unique for its narrative arc, moving from courtship, rejection, hope, union and spiritual love. Finally, both will fall in love. Next is Epithalamion. So of course it is a wedding ode, a lyric celebration of Spenser's actual wedding day with Elizabeth Boyle. ಸೊ ಅಮಾರಿಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಲವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಎಲಿಜಬೆತ್ ಬಾಯ್ಲ್ ಜೊತೆ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ಶಿಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಸೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬಂದು ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್. ಸೊ ಆ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ಡೇ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಎಪಿಥಲೇಮಿಯನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಇನ್ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ. Twenty-four stanzas, symbolizing the 24 hours of the wedding day. A mix of classical mythology, Christian imagery and personal emotion. Because it is about his marriage. And he talks about virtues, time, beauty, and he calls upon Greek gods and goddesses, muses. So that is why this is talking about classical mythology, Christian imagery, like that. So themes are important here. Spiritual love is there. Marriage as divine union. Fertility means after marriage, fertility is also important. Then continuity of lineage, time, immortality through poetry, harmony of love and nature. See, I have given a paragraph from opening lines. Okay, from Epithalamion. A learned sisters, which have oftentimes been to me aiding others to adorn, whom you thought worthy of your graceful rhymes, that even the greatest did not greatly scorn. Okay, this is the first paragraph. Spenser calls upon the muses to assist him in composing a song that celebrates his bride and their wedding. So refrain is important here. The woods shall to me answer and my echo ring. So this is the refrain. Means very often this line repeats. It emphasizes nature's participation in the wedding celebration, as if the entire world is rejoicing with Spenser. So I have given one more paragraph here about the eternal power of poetry. Like John Donne, he is eternalizing his poetry, eternalizing his wedding with his love. Behold, whilst she before the altar stands, hearing the holy priest that to her speaks and blesseth her with his two happy hands, how the red roses flush up in her cheeks. See, Spenser here describes his bride standing at the altar, blushing as she listens to the priest's blessings. This moment immortalizes his wedding day through poetry, reinforcing the Renaissance's belief that poetry grants eternal life to love and beauty. These are important points regarding epithalamion. Next is Colin Cloud, Come Home Again. So when he comes first, he submitted his Fairy Queen first part to Queen Elizabeth I and published it and gained his pension. When he visited second time, okay, so when he visited, that is what Colin Clouds Come Home Again. Here Colin Clouds is Spencer himself. We have discussed it in Shepherd's Calendar. There also Colin Clouds represents Spencer himself. Okay, this is a pastoral allegory. What does pastoral poem means? This is a type of poetry that idealizes rural life, nature, and the simplicity of living in the countryside. That is what pastoral poem. Okay, because Edmund Spencer in all his poetry he used pastoral ideals. That is why I have given an explanation here. I think it is very much helpful for you to understand. So Colin Cloud's Come Home Again is a semi-autobiographical poem written after Spencer visited London in 1591 and 92, where he sought patronage at the English court. The poem narrates his return to Ireland. So after he got his pension, he returned to Ireland, where he lived as a colonial administrator in Kilcolman, Munster. That is a castle. Colin Cloud is Spencer's poetic persona. A humble shepherd figure, he also used it in the Shepherd's Calendar. Shepherd's Calendar published in 1579. The poem offers a contrast between courtly life in London and the rural life which represents in Ireland. This poem, Colin Cloud's Come Home Again, dedicated to Sir Walter Raleigh. Here, Colin Cloud means Spencer tells a group of shepherds about his journey to the courtly world of London and why he ultimately returned home. Home is here, Ireland. He expresses dissatisfaction with courtly life, preferring the tranquility of nature over the corruption of court life, court society. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕರಪ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕ್ವೀನ್ ಎಲಿಜಬೆತ್ಸ್ ಕೋರ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಂಕ್ವಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಶಾಂತಿಯುತವಾದ ಪೀಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಏನನ್ನ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ? ಐರ್ಲೆಂಡ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ ಲೈಫ್. Country and courtly, don't get confused. Okay, courtly life in England and country life in Ireland. Colin is invited to the court by a powerful shepherd. Who is that? Sir Walter Raleigh, isn't it? Sir Walter Raleigh introduced him to Queen Elizabeth I. So that is why he is representing Sir Walter Raleigh as a powerful shepherd here. He disguised as the shepherd of the ocean. He describes court life as dazzling, but also filled with vanity, ambition, and deceit. He praises Queen Elizabeth I as a divine figure, but criticizes the flatterers and false courtiers around her. He never criticized Elizabeth I because he wants to gain her faithfulness. He wants to impress her. She is the one who granted her pension, isn't it? So, like Philip Sidney raised his voice against Queen Elizabeth I and he had to live in exile. poetry, he introduced some names, he used some names and praises several contemporary poets such as Sir Philip Sidney, Samuel Daniel, and Michael Drayton. Samuel Daniel and Michael Drayton, these are also poets and wrote sonnet sequence. Also, he used the name of Geoffrey Chaucer as the father of English poetry. After experiencing the court, Colin Cloud chooses to return home to his pastoral life in Ireland. He declares that true poetry, he declares that true poetry and virtue thrive in simplicity, means country life, away from the court's corruption. So that is all about Calling Clouds Come Home Again. Next is C, Astrophel. Okay, this is quite bigger video. Please watch this with patience because I can't elaborately I can't divide it into 3 parts, 4 parts like that. That is why I'm going to give you the whole lesson here only. So Astrophel is written or published in 1595. This is an elegiac pastoral poem. So I already talked about this pastoral elegiac poem when I was talking Philip Sidney, because this is written by Edmund Spenser about Sir Philip Sidney's death, untimely death. Written to honor Sir Philip Sidney, who died in 1586 during the Battle of Zutphen. Spenser mounts Sidney's death, portraying him as Astrophel, a name derived from Sidney's famous sonnet sequence Astrophel and Stella. Because here Astrophel represents Sidney and Stella represents his lover. The poem blends pastoral and chivalric elements. Chivalric elements should be there because Sidney was chivalrous. He was such a great soldier, depicting Sidney as a shepherd knight whose life was cut short. He died at the age of 31 or 32. Themes are heroic virtue and nobility, the fragility of life and immortality through poetry. So he is making Sidney immortal through his poetry. Spenser seeks to preserve Sidney's legacy here in his poetry. So next is four hymns. So after this Prothelemin and at last about there is a essay also. Okay, I think it is better if I stop my class here because it will be a lengthy one. You can't watch it for a long time. Anyways, I will make a short video after this one. Don't worry, and don't skip video at any point of time because each and every line carries very important information. Please watch. This will be very much helpful for your any kind of exams, recruitment exams ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ what is the entrance exams ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನೆಟ್ ಕೆಸೆಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ ಟೀಚ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಫಾರ್ ವಾಚಿಂಗ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮೋರ್ ಎಕ್ಸೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಟಿವ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋಸ್ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಟ್ಯೂನ್ ಟು ದಿ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ದೇರ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು send PDF notes and also links. Thank you.